Therefore, his introduction is as follows. Lyle and Kay recently celebrated their 150th anniversary. Help me, months, not years. Help me welcome Kyle.
Here's my assistant.
Two for the price of one. It's been 14 years since my first husband's death, and I've called and written to my family and friends to, and I tell them, you know, there is no one, no man my age, who can keep up with me.
And then I discovered Kay on a bicycle in a mountain park in Arizona. And I said, "Are you training for a race or for life?" And so I proceeded to tell her about some of my athletic accomplishments. I told her I'd run a marathon in all 50 states. I'd done the Ironman in Kona, the big triathlon. And I was slowly walking from Mexico to Canada in sections on the Pacific Crest Trail.
This man can't keep up with me, but we discovered weeks later, he can't.
And so, as she finished cycling, she hung up her bicycle and started running. You never see a gray-haired woman doing what is called a brick in triathlon training. That's the transition from the bicycle to the run. And I was impressed, and so I left my email under her windshield wiper. And I said, if you would like to go on an outing, I couldn't call it a date, I was 72 years old, and, or train, contact me.
And that I did for the next few months. We went on outings over that period of time. And at the same time, I decided it was time to retire. Now, I didn't have a lot of income that was going to be coming into me, so I thought, well, I'd like to find at least one place here that I could go and enjoy for a month or so. So I found the Milford Trek. Now, the Milford Trek is in New Zealand, thank you. The Milford Trek is in New Zealand, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to go and to spend time. There was a large group going there, but I didn't want to go with a large group totally that I didn't know anybody in the group. So I said, maybe Lyle would like to join me.
And I said, yes, that's a great hike, but it'll take at least a year to get reservations.
Next morning when I got up, I called New Zealand. Well, because it had been just a few months after 9/11, there were places available on their hike at this time. I called them and said, we are leaving for New Zealand in 5 weeks.
And so, here we are on a Qantas airline for a 15-hour flight to New Zealand. Along the way, I showed her my list of 25 retirement goals. Some people now call that the bucket list, but I called it retirement goals. And among other things, I had on it to backpack 300 miles. That was the remaining portion of the Pacific Crest Trail. And I wanted to cross Russia on the train and ride a few more subways in the world.
I think I can handle most of those. I've backpacked in and out of the Grand Canyon by myself. I've taught whitewater canoeing for several months and years, and I've also done a lot of hiking. I'm sure I can handle that.
So the next day after our arrival, we went on a short hike together, and Kay expressed a couple of her concerns.
Lyle, tell me, how do I pay my bills? How do I pay for rent and for utilities when we're going to be here in New Zealand and Australia for a month? Then we're going to go for a month to ride our bicycles across the United States from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. Then we're going to go to some little town called Manitou Springs or something and climb a hill. And then we're going to go to Washington and do a little backpacking there. How do I pay bills?
Well, I've paid in advance. I've had the bank pay them. And there is one other option.
Yes?
We could get married.
I'll take door number 3.
And so, the next day, we are taking a stroll through Queenstown, New Zealand, and I saw a very old Catholic church, and I said, I'm going to go ask that priest if he'll marry us. So I knocked on the door and said, hi, Father, any chance of you marrying us? And he said, you didn't just come off a cruise, did you? And I said, no. And he said, well, come in, I've got a little sheet to fill out. Well, at first I thought he said, come in, maybe we can cheat a little. And I almost said, yeah, I'm willing to cheat, but I didn't say that. It was a little sheet. So he said, how long have you known each other?
About 10 months.
And then he said, how long have you been widowed?
Well, for me, it's been 14 years.
14 years, and for me it was 14 months. And then he said, you know, I have to notify the parish in the U.S. about this marriage, so I need the address of where you were baptized. And I gave him this small town in Kansas without even a street. And he said, what about the zip code? And I said, when I left there in 1950, zip codes hadn't been invented.
And I was baptized in the cathedral in Burlington, Vermont. And I too left before there were any zip codes.
So then he said, you know, you'll need a marriage license. Usually it takes 3 days here to get it, but I know Amy at the courthouse, and I'll just ring her up. And he got a hold of her, and he said, I got these 2 old Yanks that want to get married. Could you type up that marriage license today? And she said, yes, send them down to the courthouse. We went down there the next day. He married us in our running sweats and our running shoes. There was an older couple in the neighborhood on vacation from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he called them to be our witness. They even had a little reception for us after the wedding. Immediately after that, we headed out on the Milford Trek. It's a wonderful rainforest. It rains there 200 inches a year. And after a rain, there are 40 to 50 waterfalls on every side for 30 minutes or so. After the hike, we had an interesting bus experience.
Yes, it was a very interesting bus experience. The bus was about to go up a small short hill and through a tunnel when it came to a dead stop. Our bus driver got out and tried a few variety of things to see if he could make the bus continue. The bus was about to move. So he says, okay folks, you are now about to become
Hitchhikers.
out with your bags, out with all your things, and be sure you don't leave anything behind. So out of the bus we stepped, stood by the side of the road, and as buses went by, he'd go to there, by there, and run there. That's how we got back to our place.
From there we progressed to Australia for our honeymoon. We swam in the Great Barrier Reef, and then we took the ancient train from Adelaide to Alice Springs. In Alice Springs, which is right in the center of Australia, in the train depot there was an interesting sign. It said, in this part of Australia there are 12 poisonous snakes, but only 2 will chase you. They didn't explain which 2 were. After our experience in Australia, we headed back to Phoenix to begin a bicycle ride from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. We were sponsored by an organization. There were 25 cyclists from 8 states. And we were on the bicycle 61 days and averaged about 65 miles a day. After several months after that, we progressed to the state of Washington to do a hike, and then to Manitou for Kay's first experience on Pikes Peak.
Well, actually, it was my second. The first experience, because we were doing all these activities, I hadn't done any training, so I did manage to get to the top, however. But the second year, when I had time to do some training, I managed not only to get to the top, but to get to the top in under 8 hours, under 5 hours, and I was at age 69, so I was setting a record.
After that, we went to Russia to ride the train from Vladivostok to St. Petersburg. This train trip takes 11 days. The train averages 36 miles an hour, and it stops 70 times.
On our route, I was trying to find some postcards with a picture of the train on it. Could not find any. There didn't seem to be any postcards around, so I finally found a woman who spoke Russian and English, and I said, I'm looking for postcards of the train reaching, and she goes, shh, we're very close to China. We're very close to China. We got off a Chinese train into a Russian train. We're very close to China?
One of my stranger hobbies is riding the subways of the world, and I've been on about 64. But Kay's favorite was Cairo, the only subway in Africa, and it goes under the Nile.
We were in Cairo with a large group of people who were studying the Old Testament, and as we were about ready to get back and go to our hotel, Lyle says, I'm going to go ride the subway. No, 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 says her. No, it's dangerous. You'll get killed. No, no. But he didn't know that Lyle doesn't know the word no. So he takes his paper out and he writes, he says, here, write the address to the hotel on here in Arabic so that we can get back to the hotel. So he decided it was no sense, arguing. So we headed on toward the subway. It was a Muslim holiday. The streets were just jammed with people, and there were cars going through back and forth. It was just unbelievable. We did manage to get into the metro, but however he got his backpack caught in the door and pushed our way into the metro. Two very nice men helped him get straightened back in. And when he did, the metro lurched around this way, and all of a sudden this young woman who had had 2 eyes now only had 1 eye. Because he had grabbed her burqa as he gone around. Here's where I go to get killed. Inshallah, he yells. And everybody bursts out laughing. Because Inshallah means, and God wills it. They managed to put the 2 eyes back together, and completed that.
And so at age 85 and 78, we've had many adventures, and we look forward to the future.